Okay, let's unpack this. We've definitely spent some time exploring the whole gambling market before, right? It's pretty dynamic.
Absolutely. It changes so fast.
It does. And today, we're taking a real deep dive into, well, a fascinating puzzle within it.
Which is,
How do you actually ensure seamless, secure identity verification? When you're juggling both online betting platforms and physical betting shops.
yeah. Especially with regulations demanding that face-to-face check sometimes.
Exactly.
What's really interesting, I think, is how this forces compliance and user convenience to sort of meet in the middle.
Right. They often seem like opposites.
They do. So our mission today really is to look at how some clever new systems are bridging that gap.
Okay.
Making sure everything's above board regulation-wise, but also making the whole experience smoother for you, the customer.
Turning a pain point into something easier.
Or even an advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah, turning that regulatory burden into maybe a competitive edge.
That does sound like navigating a minefield, though. What specific regulation are we talking about here? What makes it so tricky, especially if you're only online?
Well, the big one, a key example anyway, is Germany's Gluss-TV. That's the German state treaty on gambling.
Okay. Gluss-TV.
Yeah. And it's not just a guideline. It legally mandates a Know Your Customer KYC process.
Which usually means?
Traditionally, it meant an in-person, face-to-face identity check. So even if you started setting up your betting account online, you still needed that physical step.
Ah, okay. To fully activate it.
Precisely. And that was a huge hurdle for the purely online guys, made signing up clunky.
I can imagine. Lots of people probably just gave up partway through.
Exactly. High drop-off rates. It's just not convenient to have to find some specific shop just for an ID check.
So the big question is, how do you get that in-person confirmation for an online account without making customers jump through hoops?
Right.
And this is where terrestrial providers fit in. Is that the term?
That's the one, yeah.
Can you explain who they are and how these new systems let them kind of step up?
Sure. So terrestrial providers are basically the gambling operators who already have a physical footprint, a chain of betting shops on the high street.
Got it. Brick and mortar places.
Exactly. And this system we're talking about lets them integrate their online and offline ID checks.
Right
Across all their platforms.
at the shop itself.
Right there at the point of sale, the POS. It essentially turns every single one of their shops into a trusted spot for verifying their online customers, too.
That is quite smart, leveraging what they already have.
It's a pretty significant shift, strategically.
Okay, so walk me through it. Let's say I start the ID process online, sitting at home. How does that connect to walking into a shop? What does it look like for me and for the employee behind the counter?
Yeah, it's designed to be pretty smooth, so you might do most of the initial sign-up online. Then the system gives you a unique reference.
Like a code or something?
Could be. Maybe a document you print. Or, more often now, it's an electronic barcode that links straight to your online profile.
Okay.
Then you pop into one of their physical betting offices, show this reference, the barcode, say.
Right.
The employee there uses a secure admin interface, like on their till system or a tablet. They scan your reference.
Pulls up my details?
Exactly. Pulls up your encrypted online profile. Then they just need to visually check that against your actual physical ID, your passport or driver's license.
And there are probably security checks built in.
Oh, yeah. Often things like checksums, maybe even real-time checks against databases to make sure the ID is legit and flag any potential fraud.
Okay, that makes sense. But I've heard there's an even slicker way, something about a one-time barcode in an app.
Ah, yes. That's where it gets really streamlined. You can do the identity confirmation at the POS even more simply.
Oh.
By scanning a specially generated one-time barcode that pops up right inside the provider's app on your phone.
One-time use.
Yeah, it's dynamic, time-sensitive, only valid for that single check, and expires quickly. Much more secure.
So you just show your phone, they scan it.
And bang! It securely links your physical presence there in the shop to your digital account, verifying you in seconds. No printouts, no manual searching needed.
Wow. Okay, that cuts out a lot of steps.
Definitely. Offers a speed and convenience, that the older ways just couldn't match. Cuts through red tape for everyone.
So let me see if I've got this right. Betting companies that already have physical shops.
Your own network, yeah.
They can now handle the ID verification for their online customers right there in their existing shops.
That's the core idea, yeah.
It basically flips a tricky regulatory problem into just part of the process. Are there bigger benefits here beyond just ticking the compliance box?
Oh, absolutely. The real insight, I think, is how it turns that compliance burden into a serious competitive advantage.
How so?
Well, think about the cost savings. They don't need to rely so much on maybe more expensive, purely online verification methods or sending out couriers or whatever.
That's true.
And maybe even more importantly, it likely boosts customer conversion rates. Big time. Because the sign-up process is suddenly much less hassle, maybe even feels more familiar.
Because you can just finish it off somewhere local.
Exactly. They're leveraging their existing infrastructure, those shops, in a totally new, efficient way. Makes it easier for you to get started, easier for them to grow online legally. It's a real win-win.
Okay, so we've seen how a pretty clever system can take this complex regulatory hurdle in the betting world and smooth it out. Make it secure, user-friendly, good for the providers, good for the customers.
It really does streamline things. And, if we zoom out a bit, connect this to the bigger picture, it makes you wonder,
What's that?
well, what other industries could really use something like this kind of unified identity approach?
Where you blend digital ease with a physical check-in.
Precisely. Think about, banking maybe, or healthcare appointments, even getting secure tickets for events or something anywhere with that online-offline mix.
That's a really interesting thought. Loads of possibilities there.
It is. Where else could this model apply?
Definitely something to think about. Well, we hope this deep dive has given you some useful insights and maybe sparked a few ideas for you too.
Hope so.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
And we look forward to our next deep dive with you.